there's two ways you can consume metrics outside of Embrace. The first way is you can, of course, push them to your favorite observability tool, whether that's a legacy tool like Datadog or an OTel forward tool like Grafana Cloud Mimir. You can push your data metrics to a number of destinations and consume them there. The second way you can do it is we actually host all of your metrics on an API, and using one of your tokens that we provide you, you can query your metrics on demand. So you can pull them down. So if you're worried at all about cardinality, we always recommend people build a metric first in Embrace and only have it on the API and query it there until they're comfortable with it. And then we can, of course, set up the forwarding after that. So to create a metric, one of the easiest ways to think about this is just go to a board, which has some of your favorite widgets. And for some of them, you can just, as simple as hit create custom metric, and it'll take one of your existing widgets and turn it into something you can consume. So this is a count of network requests grouped by status code for this app. And you can see at some point, David really increased the emulator simulation runs, I guess. And so we really blew up in volume here. But if you want to consume that, you just click create custom metric. And even if you don't want to go this route or your favorite metric doesn't necessarily support it, you can always go to settings and custom metrics, where you also get a list of all of them. And if you click add custom metric, it'll take you back to that same flow. And so I'm just going to go back to the widget since it's pre-filled for me and I like being lazy. And you can see it's already picked the app. It's given it a name similar to the board. It's picked the metric. It's added the filters and group bys that are similar. So really all I have to do is just click next. But if you want to modify any of this stuff, you can. We'll click next. And then here on this page, the Embrace Metrics API, like I mentioned, always going to be checked. We always host it. You can always pull it down. You never have to worry about that. But if you want to forward it to any of these other ones, you certainly can. If you want to consume the metric, you can do two things. One, it's just an API, so you can always pull it down. So we use just the Prometheus standard metrics API, and there's docs that are on our page. You should definitely check out. But for a simple version of this, you hit an endpoint, you pass in a query. Here I'm just querying for the actual raw metric, 5-minute sessions total. You give it a start and stop. And of course, you give it your token that we provide you, and it will return a bunch of results. So these are all Unix timestamps and then the values, but then the kind of the bulk of it's up here. So your app ID or your app name, if you want it, the OS version. If you want to do something a little bit more clever and you're comfortable with PromQL, you can do something like sum of these by app version. If you're more comfortable with something like Grafana, this is also supported in things like Honeycomb. You can set up a or you can set up the API here and integrate directly with it as a Prometheus source. And again, we have docs on our page. And so the metric, you can just start to put in whatever you want here, whatever you've created. Let's do that request. And here's 5-minute request by status. And again, you can query it. Maybe you want to do a sum and by something like device model. And there you go. And it turns out for this one, there's only one device model, it looks like, because it's a simulator that's running. So status code. That's what we did originally. And there you go. And you can use Grafana Snazzy visualization tool to build kind of whatever you want.